Go home, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home, go hard, go home. Yeah, these are championship rings on my hands now. In my head I'm top 10, yeah, that's hands down. You a squad, know you're looking man down. Funny how foes turn to friends now. Drive a race car like a Target. I'm caught filling up, I need product again. Treat the business like a playground, might slide on you. Don't me wrong, might slide on you. Do a backflip, cause I'm mad rich. I'm the definition of what that is. Go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home. Touchdown like the end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home.
What is up? What is up? What is up, Longhorn Nation? Listen, we've got some great news to start the show. We've got an action-packed show today.
Yep.
But Tim, real quick, I was just browsing around on my computer. I want to share something with the audience real quick.
Okay.
I don't mind sharing this because this is just how life is right now, and
right.
It's not a big deal to me. I just don't care. But something came across my Facebook memories, and I wanted to share this. This is me 7 years ago today, talking about the Texas Longhorns at my original apartment.
Okay.
I don't remember if you remember this. Look at what I looked like then versus now. And I'll pull this up real quick. And listen, you guys in the comments, don't tease me, right? This is I was young, okay? And if you tease me, I was a young 27, right? Look at me. Look at this guy.
Hey, I remember that.
With the Texas Longhorn shirt, with the broken computer chair,
right?
In an apartment. Actually, it might have been like very early when I moved into that apartment.
Right.
I look like I'm on some sort of laptop.
Right. You were doing Longhorn. Was it like Longhorn Wednesdays or something like that?
I was doing something, dude. I was just trying to get started on the Facebook. So I was like, hey, man, I really want to do some stuff here. And I started doing stuff on the Longhorns, just on my Facebook page. So anyway, stroll down memory lane. That's where we were. That's where I was 7 years ago. Here we are now. But let's move on. We've got a lot to get to. And we're going to try to get this done within 45 minutes or less. That is the ultimate goal. We are the Longhorn Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Harish, and I'm along here with my good old buddy, Tim Wayne. Tim, how you doing today, man?
Hey, man. I feel good about the Longhorns. We got 3 weeks left in the regular season with the opportunity to do some major damage. We just need to, again, handle business as the Longhorns need to handle business and then let the chips fall where they may. You know what I mean?
Right. No, absolutely. And we'll talk a little bit about that here later on the show.
Absolutely.
Before we get started, though, shout out to our guys, fanbattlesports.com. Go there for the latest and greatest in all your news, information, sports for the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. All the AFC South teams, including the dreaded Jags, who Jags fans, I'm sorry to let you know, CJ Stroud is better than Trevor Lawrence. The Titans.
What?
The Titans.
All right, bro.
The Colts.
All right.
And, of course, I already said the worst team of the division, didn't I? The Titans? Yeah. Okay. The Colts and all the other AFC South teams. And, of course, follow us there as well. We are not talking about how Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud, we're not having that conversation. I'm just letting you know. CJ Stroud is better than Trevor Lawrence. Follow us on Twitter, Longhorn fan battle. Listen, we've had a lot of great engagements over the last week since the last time we've spoken.
Oh yeah, it's
been really cool.
I want to point out one where you made a comment about what's his name? Jesus, I don't know why. Quinn gets pushed back into launch, and now I can't even remember his name. Malik.
Yeah.
You said, Malik Murphy basically did what he was supposed to do as a backup coming in, and just making sure that the games are not lost, and that he did well, and he will get better as he gets older in the system. And there was another guy that came in and was like, "You guys just get to say anything you want nowadays on these Twitter handles. I don't know why they let y'all talk." And then you replied with, "But I'm speaking facts."
Listen, here, and you know what's really funny? I mean, actually, you know what? I actually remember this guy.
Yeah.
Basically said they'll let anybody on X or whatever. And I was like, actually, a couple of things about this guy. Number one, we started when this thing was Twitter. So
right.
They let anybody on Twitter. Yes. You're on Twitter, so of course they let anybody on Twitter. All you gotta do, you go to the homepage, hit the sign up button, put in your email address, put in the Twitter handle that you want, a password, and boom, you're in there. Anybody can do it. So yes, they do let anybody on Twitter. Number two, Malik Murphy did what he was supposed to do. He went 2-0. Was he good? No. Was he great? He had moments.
He had some flashes. He definitely had some flashes.
It was his second start in college football on a big stage against a top 25 team.
Right.
I can't remember. Maybe it was Jeff and Chad from Orange Blast. Shout out to those guys. We talked about this earlier this week. Malik Murphy did exactly what he was supposed to do because the plays were scripted, right?
Right.
But when he follows the script, he's really good.
Right.
And the script clearly was attack the secondary, blah, blah, blah. The moment things go south from the script is where Malik struggled.
Mm-hmm.
And that's expected.
Right.
He's a freshman at the end of the day. He's a freshman and a second. Now, the other thing to this is, did he make some terrible throws? 100%. Some of these, listen, there are opportunities for Xavier Worthy to eat. A.D. Mitchell was a baller on Saturday.
Absolutely.
It's clear that Malik Murphy has a chemistry with A.D. Mitchell that he doesn't have with Xavier. And Quinn has a connection with Xavier that he doesn't have with A.D. Mitchell.
Right.
Very clear. So, but yeah, yes, they do let anybody on Twitter because we're currently on Twitter. So that was a very good observation by that guy. Forgot his name. Don't really care anymore. It doesn't really matter. But it was a great observation. I'm glad he's got his eyes out and his ears open. It's really good. But yeah, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube, guys. We're trying to grow the YouTube channel. Longhorn Fan Battle. We're up to 19 subscribers, 18 subscribers, something like that. Please like, comment, and subscribe. As soon as we get to 250 followers on Twitter, Tim, I want to try to do some sort of giveaway. It doesn't need to be big. I wanted to maybe we do something like $25, the Texas Longhorn store or something like that.
Okay.
I'll figure that out. You and I can sit down and figure out what that looks like. But we should probably do something like that here pretty soon. We're about 250, so we're probably about 60 or so followers away from that. Please follow us on Twitter. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your dog, tell your aunt, your uncle, gerbil. Yeah, tell everybody. Whoever's on X, because anybody can get on X. So follow us on X.
Anybody.
Alrighty, Tim. We are past the dirty, the rubble and the tubble, the juices, the squeezes, whatever you want to call it. We're past the introduction of the show.
Yeah.
Breaking news. As of 30 minutes ago, Steve Sarkisian had his weekly press conference, Thursday Zoom conference.
Yep.
Quinn Ewers will be starting on Saturday. Now, as you guys know, he was injured during the Houston game.
Right.
Another AC joint on his throwing shoulder.
Shoulder.
He sat up No, it was a start. It was a start other.
No, but I'm saying different from last year.
Oh yeah, different from last year. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's now had an AC joint in both shoulders. He's all AC jointed out. He's good to go. He's ready to roll. So, what do you expect to see from Quinn Ewers this week?
I expect Quinn to come in, and I expect Quinn to. I don't expect too many explosive plays. I expect them to come in and just let Quinn get really reacclimated to throwing the ball, reacclimated to being under pressure. I will say this will probably be the reason why Quinn is probably back now is because you don't want Quinn trying to get reacclimated to the system against Iowa State, which is a really good defense. And you would want to get reacclimated and have kind of what I would call a tune-up game before. And don't get me wrong, not to say that TCU isn't any bigger than Iowa State, but at this point in time, currently, defensive-wise, we can all assume, we don't even need to assume, the two best defenses outside of Texas in the conference is going to be Kansas State and Iowa State. Outside of those top three, Texas, Kansas State, and Iowa State are the top three defenses in the Big 12, right? And so, you want that tune-up game. You want to get reacclimated. You want to feel what it's like to get hit, because some people they need that pressure. I know I did when I played, and that was pretty much like every game. I needed to get that first initial contact out of the way, and then after that, I'm ready to go. And so I think that's kind of along the same things that they're trying to do with Quinn currently.
The one thing that I think is interesting, and again, I'm not surprised that he's playing this week. You end the season with 3 primetime games, 2 of them on the road.
Right.
I think Steve Sarkisian realizes that if they're going to go win these next 2 road games specifically, they're going to need Quinn. Right?
Yeah.
And 85% Quinn is better than 100% Malik Murphy at this time.
Yeah.
Right. And you know what? I think what they're going to do is they're going to dink and dunk a lot, which is where Quinn is at his best right now.
Right.
He'll probably have something around the ranges of like 10 to 15 straight completions at one point. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's not going to risk it. A lot of RPOs, a lot of getting the guys in space. Who does this really impact receiver-wise, do you think?
JT Sanders. Here's why. I can see a lot of instances where there's seam routes being thrown, quick seam routes, get the ball out, jet routes, get the ball out, slants, get the ball out, 5 and ends, things of that nature, screens, wide receiver screens, tight end screens, things of that nature. Is it predictable? Yes. Do I hate it? Yes. In this case, do we need to get the quarterback into rhythm? Absolutely. So if this is what you need to get the quarterback back into, get him back into shape and get him back, to where he feels confident, then by all means, this is the game to do it. Because again, like you said, you got three primetime games, 2 of them on the road. TCU is no slouch. Don't get me wrong; they've been beat, this year. But I would say the Big 12 as a whole is not necessarily just a walking bunch of slouches. No matter from the first team to the last team, they all play very, very hard. So, and especially with again, Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 and going to the SEC, every team that Texas is going to face is going to give them, the best shot that they possibly can. For TCU, if TCU were to come out and beat Texas, this would be very, very big for TCU. TCU already has 5 losses on the year. Get that 5th or 6th win possibly to get them in a bowl game. What better bowl game, I don't know what bowl game there would be, probably the Poinsettia Bowl if they were able to rip off 2 wins within the last one. You somehow managed to pull off Texas, it probably puts you a little bit higher in the bowl season, right? a bit of a better bowl. So in this case, we definitely know that TCU is going to give Texas everything that they possibly can. So I also think that Stark knows what he's doing as far as the they know how to scheme against TCU. Their secondary is not that great. So again, if there's a game where you want to try to like push the ball down the field, again, get some some intermediate passes off, this is the game to do it.
So TCU, and we'll talk about this later. TCU quickly, they score about 30 points a game, and then they give up about. Let's see, I'm trying to find it here. It only has their offense for some reason. We'll find out here in a little bit. But offensively, they run through their running back, Maury Banks, Maury Jones, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I think he's got like 9. Amani Bailey. He's probably gonna. I don't think he's gonna eclipse 1,000 yards this week, but by season's end, he will eclipse 1,000 yards.
Yeah. He's not a slouch. Neither is Chandler Morris either. He's thrown for 50 yards. He does have a couple of interceptions. He's got 5 on the year. But relatively speaking, he does not turn the ball over. Now, their offensive line, the TCU's offensive line is not good.
It's horrible.
It's
actually really bad.
It's real bad. Chandler Morris has had over 10 sacks. He's been sacked over 10 times in the season, which is not good by any means. So and Texas having one of their strengths is being the defensive line is definitely one of the things that I look forward to seeing, especially being able to get the pressure on the ball. And again, if you're able to get, I don't know, if you're able to keep TCU behind the 50, behind their own 50 and keep them on their side of the field, and those punts, are getting, those punts are coming from the 30 and the 20. Maybe you get a big loss, come from the 10 or maybe even the 5. That shortens up the field. You're starting off at like the 40, 35, and Quinn has been, not Quinn, but Xavier Worthy has been excellent in the return game this last month.
Yes.
Where he's been ripping off big wins and big returns. If he gets 15 yards from 40, like you're in TCU territory already.
Right.
So that's a really big thing. I'm really excited to see what that Texas defensive line is able to do versus a not so strong TCU offensive line.
Yeah, I think they'll do really well, and we'll kind of get that here in a second. Any other final thoughts on Quinn?
I just want to see one in this instance. If you're a Quinn Ewers, you got to know what you have ahead of you. So, in the case that you do want to make the play, and you do see yourself running, just make sure you give yourself up. Don't try to run a defensive end over. You're a little light in the butt now. It's not like you're 220 anymore. You're 200 pounds, maybe 195 soaking wet. Get down, protect yourself, get down, and just stay as healthy as possible.
Yeah. Cool.
And don't overexert yourself either, especially with a shoulder injury. I've had a shoulder injury. I had a small tear. It took a year and some change. So you're coming back from a strain in like 2 weeks, man. That's usually people are down for about a month.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of very similar to what we saw from Quinn last year, right?
Right.
Except in the other show. And this is the throwing arm. So that's the thing that concerns me the most. He cannot take any hits.
Right.
In general, he can't take any hits. I'm sure Stark is really on the offensive line to say, hey, he's going to play. It is up to you guys to protect him this week.
Right.
This is it's like the blind side, right? This is like your little brother. You don't want anybody picking on your little brother.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, so let's talk about Kansas State.
Okay.
And again, at the end of the day, Texas wins the game.
Right.
Texas gets off to fireball start, right?
Smoking
Seven,
start.
17-0, basically through the first quarter and a half.
Right.
And then things go haywire, right?
Right.
You start to see Malik make some mistakes. Listen, the first interception where Malik throws the ball down the field, Jonte Cook falls down and it ends up being intercepted. That's not on.
That's not his fault. Yeah.
That happens, and I don't actually at that moment. I don't think TCU. I don't think Kansas State got any points off of that. Right? They might have gotten maybe they did get a touchdown. I don't.
I think that was their touchdown of the game. Or their touchdown of that first half. They scored one
touchdown.
Half, and that I believe was the touchdown.
No! It wasn't that. It was the touch. Was it the touchdown after the failed screen pass? That's the one that was.
Yes.
So that's the score off the screen pass.
Right.
And then they come out, and Kansas State is not a throwing football team.
No, absolutely not.
Kansas State is. I think they coming into the game, they led the nation in rushing.
Absolutely.
And Texas, thanks to this guy, and takes the T Sweat and Byron Murphy. Kansas State had nothing in the running game. I think they actually only got 40 yards for the game.
They had
30 yards for the game.
30 yards rushing.
They averaged 1 yard a carry.
Right.
Unreal stuff. 30 yards on 29 carries as a team. The QB draw was non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
So the defensive line was unreal in this game.
Stellar.
And
that was probably
the best defensive line performance I've seen from a Texas team. I would even argue even better than the Alabama performance. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Since 2000, put a number on it. It's been a very long time since we've seen the defensive line be this dominant. Ethan Burke was really good yesterday. He's finally healthy. He looks like he's got his pep in his step back. I think we finally saw the Ethan Burke we saw at Bama. Right. T'Vondre Sweat. I think T'Vondre Sweat's looking like a first round pick.
He's gone though.
He's gone. Byron Murphy is a benefactor of T'Vondre Sweat, but Byron Murphy in his own regard is also really good. I think Byron's going to come back for another year and kind of he's going to see the growth that T'Vondre had from year 2 to year 3 to year 4, year 2 to year 3, and I think he's going to stay. So I think we'll have Byron Murphy next year, which I think will be great heading into the SEC. But what an absolute animal, right? T'Vondre Sweat was all over the field on Saturday.
A monster.
Yeah. And this is a 3-star recruit. This is not a 5-star recruit. This is a 3-star that hold on, Tim. This is a 3-star recruit that was developed. Right? It's almost like it's something you have to do in college. You have to develop
right. You got to develop players, man.
I still don't think Tom Herman knows that, but I don't know if Charlie or Tom know that, but yeah, you actually have to develop your players. So he's turned into an animal. He's been great all year. They, a couple big plays that come out to me as obviously the last play of the game, right?
Right.
But the play before, a couple plays before that, the second down play in overtime, where Will Howard kind of has the QB sneak. If Will Howard goes right on that play, there's a couple times where this game is over, right?
That game is over.
The QB draw, where Will Howard goes the wrong way. And the very next play on third down, where they tried to do the little jump pass. Or no, they do a little pass. And the the wide receiver is wide open in the end zone. And he just doesn't see him. He just doesn't see him.
Right.
This game is over if it isn't for T'Vondre Sweat. Putting enough pressure on Will Howard at the right time to force those things to happen.
I also want to point out Jalen Ford and Anthony Hill Jr. In overtime, you want to talk about blowing up, dude. Like nothing was getting past the linebackers. Absolutely nothing. You had Devondre Sweat just putting that constant pressure. You had the linebackers just literally flying everywhere, talking about being in, especially when Kansas State got on the field, they were literally involved in almost every play of that drive. So shout out to them. Really just a shout out to the defense overall.
Great.
I don't care what you say. Michael Taft for the third week in a row has made some type of play, right? Austinite. Again, not a 5-star recruit, a walk-on. I think he might lead the team in interceptions this year right now.
Yes, he does.
Again, earned his way onto the starting defense. And I mean, boy, talk about showing up in the right moments at the right time. This is the kind of, I really want to say this is like the Jalen Ford effect, where last year Jalen Ford, and even sometimes this year, we're like not as much as last year because people are basically game planning against these guys. But like last year, Jalen Ford was just anywhere the ball was,
he was there.
There was it. And I mean, Jalen Ford still had the same thing. I mean, he picked up a crazy fumble earlier in the game and was able to get that ball out in the third, maybe in the fourth quarter. Can't remember exactly where that took place. But,
was that the one where Alex Mara tried to say that it wasn't a fumble?
Right.
And almost in their own territory. Yeah.
Right.
That was that's where Ethan Burke knocked the ball out.
Right. Ethan Burke showed up. Dude, Ethan Burke looks like a 5-star right now. He looks like he has been a menace literally the last month of the season.
Obviously get Colin Simmons next year with Ethan Burke.
Right.
The guy I'm really interested in seeing is Colton Bassick, who's also from Westlake. We haven't seen him at all this year. He's a freshman.
Right.
I think this defensive line is going to be even better next year.
I think it's going to be faster.
No, that's fine. No, that's good observation.
It's gonna be fast. It's gonna be fast. With those guys again, the way Anthony Hill Jr. is playing as a true freshman, dude, definitely kind of reminds me of Micah. I know it seems like he's just a true freshman, but like these guys are being recruited by everybody in the country for nothing. Like Anthony Hill Jr. is a man child. Like this guy he looks like a video game character.
Yeah.
And so when you're able to put these guys in different spots and you're able to get the tackle in twist, when you're able to do all types of stunts, when you're able to just stand your defensive lineman up because they have the speed to either go and drop into coverage or they got enough speed to beat your tackles, like that does a lot.
Yeah. I also want to shout out here real quick. Bert Auburn, who went 4 for 4 on Saturday.
Talk about we've had a kicker woes since Dicker, you know.
Yes.
And now that we have, I think we found our kicker, like for sure.
He's also pretty young as well. No, he's a junior. He's a junior. He's a junior. I don't know if he comes back. Most kickers do, right? There's not a lot of kickers.
Most kickers stay 4 years.
The one thing that makes this interesting, and this is completely off topic, and I don't want to go too deep into this week because it's something we'll talk about in the offseason. After the week after the conference championship game. Right. I don't know if you saw the announcement the other day, but for the first time ever, the NCAA has announced that if you're a junior that has declared for the NFL draft, they will be eligible to play in the Senior Bowl.
That's awesome.
No, it's great. I think it's amazing.
That's awesome because that's
where a lot of those guys get seen, right?
Right. It's going to build your stock, and not only that, will it build your stock? But let's say you don't do too well. Do you want to? I mean, there is a window where you can not declare anymore. Basically, like you can undeclare. Yeah. So if you're not getting the grade that you want, I mean, hey, that's a great opportunity.
this is the last of the COVID years. This draft class that is going in that is so it's especially deep at quarterback, right?
Right.
This
Right.
is the last COVID eligible class that gets that benefit of the doubt, if you will. After this year, you just go back to what it always has been, right? So it'll be very interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But any other
a deep class, definitely that quarterback.
Any other thoughts on K-State before we move on?
My only thoughts is again, Pete, and we're getting ready to talk about him soon, but Pete, again, you got it. I don't know what this defensive that you're running. You gotta chill on this defense, man. It's not working. Clearly your guys are press guys. These are man up guys. You've got the weapons and the talent in the front, the defensive line. Let these guys play man. If they get beat, they get beat.
Yeah.
But again, you're playing a 12 yard coverage, and you're giving these guys space the way that they are. There's no wonder why Kansas State, they are number one in rushing in the country, but they threw for 327 yards. It's because you're giving the receivers the opportunities to make the moves on your defensive back. It's harder, and I'm going to say this, and then we can move on. It's harder to go backwards, or it's harder to move. It's harder to make a move 12 yards out than it is when you're right on top of your receiver. And that's all I'm really going to say about that. You've got these big corners. They're fast. They can hit. We've seen that they can hit. This game, they were hitting people.
Yep.
So just let them do that and then go from there.
Follow-up question to that, though. Is there a concern that the safeties are not good enough, and that's why the corners are playing so far back?
No, because the safeties are the ones getting the interceptions, not the corners. The safeties are the ones getting those turnovers, getting the tip balls, getting when people try to test them deep. Like, other than since Kansas State or since the Kansas game, there's only been one touchdown that's been over 40 yards.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's just an observation that I read about, and I was just curious to see your thoughts. So, we'll continue to see what happens. Again, regardless of what happens, this defense is mightily improved from last year.
Absolutely,
it's improved since the first day since PK got here. So,
and I enjoy watching the defense. It's just like there's some things that just need to be polished, and then you'll turn a great defense into an elite defense. I think they're a great defense. They have an opportunity to be an elite defense, though.
I would agree with that assessment. I think, and honestly, if they played at the level they did at Alabama, this would already be an elite defense. But they're moving in the right direction. I'd love to see it. So let's talk about this real quick. And again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's just kind of something that has floated in the Twitter X-verse, whatever the Twixverse, whatever you want to call it. So there's been rumors circulating. As we know, Lincoln Riley finally ended his long-term relationship with his friend there, Alex Grinch, over the weekend.
Right.
There have been rumors circulating that PK might be going to USC.
Okay.
So one thing to start off right with this, if PK goes to USC is going to pay a lot of money, right?
Yeah, they're going to have to come off of their money.
And here's the thing: PK is getting 1.6, 1.5. Right. And just the obvious, right? Texas doesn't have state tax.
Right.
Income tax, sorry. In order for him to even get anything above 1.5 to even get into, a pay raise territory, they're gonna have to at least 2.6, 2.7, maybe 3 million minimum.
Yeah, because after taxes, you got to think taxes up there are really, really, really high.
They're really high.
And then they have they have property taxes, all that stuff like that. So if you go out there, let's say they go give you a 5-year deal, you're gonna want to buy a house, all that's great stuff. You're gonna be paying property taxes, and that's gonna kill you drastically. So for me, this is one thing that I would say the reason why PK won't leave. One, you got an offensive juggernaut on the rise, right? You got Jonte, particularly. He's going to be the number one guy next year. You've got other kids coming in; they're going to be beasts, especially at wide receiver. You got CJ Baxter, you got Jonathan Brooks, you've got a young backfield, and you've got a quasi hungry defense where you're going to be able to do whatever you want to do because you're going to have the talent and the speed. One thing that Texas hasn't had in a long time is where there'll be speed everywhere, not only the defensive line, but also the secondary and your linebackers. And not to say that the Texas defenses of the past haven't been fast, but they haven't been this fast. We're talking again, we just mentioned Anthony Hill Jr. That guy can fly all over the place. We'll have Collins. He'll be in next year. It's a quite a few players that will be in, and they'll be making plays. And they'll be young, and he'll be able to coach them up. USC, you might have to revamp that whole defense,
right?
There might be some holes there. And that thing is, it's like you if you decide that you want to leave, you got to basically pack your bags in 3 weeks and say I'm out, because you're getting.
Who's the interim defensive coordinator right now since Grinch is gone? Do they have anybody?
I haven't seen anybody being named.
Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody being named. And so with that being said, like I said, if you are going to take the job, you're basically saying, hey, in 3 weeks, I'm out, right? After the conference championship, I'm out. And then from that point on, you got to hit the road, dude. And you've got to try to convince people to come to USC. USC is not looking great right now. Yeah, they're putting up points. They're putting up tons of points. But they can't stop a nosebleed through the air or on the ground. So, yeah, Caleb Williams is not going to be there next year. I would agree. Do you think Caleb Williams would come back for another year?
No, there's zero chance.
Yeah, he's probably
there's zero chance. He's the number one pick.
He's probably going to be the number one pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just it would be more of a project, and you've already got these players in place already. You've got people coming into Texas next year already. And on top of that, you're going to the SEC. And what does the SEC do? It gives you opportunities where at the NFL level. If that's his goal. We don't necessarily know what his goal is, but if you want to get to the next level, that is probably where you want to be. Not saying, again, SC is going to be at the Big Ten next year. We all know those are going to be the two best conferences all together, right?
Yeah.
Big Ten, SEC. However, if you go and look at the coaching trees right now, a lot of those guys are coming out of the SEC. So
yes, yeah.
Do you want the project where a team is basically ready to contend for a national championship right now, or do you want to take a couple steps back? Possibly build up another defense. Not saying that USC doesn't have the talent and can't get the talent, but it's going to take you a little while longer.
Yeah. I tried to see who the defensive coordinator is going to be for the rest of the year, and I couldn't find it.
Right.
But honestly, I don't really care because that defense is atrocious anyway.
Right.
But yeah, I think, listen, the other thing is, let's just say PK leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know who's sitting right there. Gary
Patterson.
Hello, Gary. In Fort Worth, you want to drive back down here 3 hours? All right. We'll see you then. Bye. I guess it's that simple. I don't think Texas is worried if PK leaves. games.
Right.
I think for continuity perspective, it would be great. But Gary Patterson was already here for a year. He knows the defense. He knows the personnel. He's helped recruited some of these guys.
Right.
So I don't think they would. And you know what? Gary Patterson, they just, all right, Gary, you want 3?
Gary,
you want 2.5?
Gary could get 3. Gary could get 3 for sure.
And he would be the best defensive coordinator in the country instantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this defense would be, listen, you don't only see a Sark offense with the Gary Patterson defense.
Because we know Gary Patterson is all about defense. And no matter how good or bad TCU has been in the past, a Gary Patterson defense has always been top tier.
Every time, right? So we'll see what happens with that. That's more of an offseason thing. We will obviously keep a close eye on that.
Right.
And then we'll see what happens with that. All right. I'm going to ask you one question when it comes to the CFP.
Okay.
And that question is Texas in the right spot?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The reason why I think they're in the right spot is because, of course, with the injury to Quinn, have they squeaked by? Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of teams that have squeaked by. Last week, all of the teams squeaked by. All of the top teams squeaked by. Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State.
Florida State, the only team that ran through their opponent last week. They won 36-7.
Okay. Oh, my bad. I'm confusing Florida State with Oklahoma. They're the only team that did not handle up. They didn't win the game by any means. They basically got boat raced and they were out of there. And that was pretty early, pretty evident, pretty evident very early that was going to be a hard game for them. So yeah, is TCU? I mean, is Texas in the right spot? Absolutely. Do I think they have an opportunity to make a jump? This week would be the week. Absolutely. This is the week where Texas can get. If Texas can get a couple of things would have to work, right? You need Penn State, honestly, to win. You need Penn State to win this weekend. And that means they would beat Michigan. You need Alabama to lose against Kentucky. And Alabama and Kentucky, that's been a hard-fought game for the last couple of years. But actually, Alabama has been playing really, really well. So yeah, I think they're in the right spot. What I do want to see is just again how they respond this week, being in a spot where they have an opportunity to move up and move into some serious competition. Because again, there's some big games this week. You got Utah versus Washington. Washington's number 5. So like they have an opportunity to really scoop in there if things work out in their if their things work out in their way. You got Oklahoma, you got Georgia versus Ole Miss this weekend, like the old-fashioned cocktail party. That's a thing. Like Ole Miss has only lost 1 game.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that Texas can make the possible moves if they handle business for sure.
Okay, so I don't agree with where Texas is. I think Texas is the best one-loss team in the country. But I do understand why they're where they are.
Okay.
The Oklahoma loss continues to hurt them.
Absolutely.
Because Oklahoma has not looked good since Red River, right?
No, they have not.
They should have lost the UCF game.
Yes.
They lost to Kansas and they lost to Oklahoma State. I think they're going to lose again this week too.
Yeah.
That West Virginia team is sneaky good. Probably the biggest. There's always a surprise in the Big 12, and West Virginia is that surprise this year.
Yeah.
So that continues to hurt them. We need Alabama to keep winning, honestly.
Right.
Alabama keep winning, continuing to win only helps Texas. Because look, Texas is the only team to beat Alabama in Alabama. That win will continue to hold high as it continues to happen.
Right.
So we need Alabama to keep winning.
Right.
I don't think Oregon may be playing better than Texas. Better. They haven't played anybody. The one good team they played,
They lost.
The one good team they played, they lost.
Right, and they play USC on Saturday.
And they play
so
USC on
we
Saturday,
know that,
whose defense couldn't stop.
but we also know
that
that USC team is going to put up points. It's no doubt.
Oh yeah,
they put up points. There's no we as much as we want to talk about how terrible USC is when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, offensively they are phenomenal.
Yeah, and Oregon's defense has been solid, but they haven't played anybody.
Right.
Colorado couldn't even protect, a mouse from a hole.
Right.
Stanford, they suck. The one good offensive team they played put up 33 on them. Washington, 36. Washington State put up 24 on them.
And people forget, like, Texas Tech was going to beat Oregon.
Yes, this is not
going to get a last-minute pick.
I don't think this. I don't think this Oregon team is good, and I don't think they played anybody to show that they're good. I think they've beaten up on bad teams all year. Listen, if Texas got to play Stanford, Colorado, and California every year, they'd probably be, undefeated right
now. Right. Well, this is the week, right? If there's a slip up, if they want to get caught slipping,
I think there's two.
This is the game, right?
There's two left.
Right.
I think so they play USC this week at home.
Oregon State.
And then Oregon State in 2 weeks. That Arizona State's no trick either, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
They have to go to Arizona State. I hope they make this a night game. Arizona State's 2-7, but their quarterback Ksate, I've seen him play a couple times. He's pretty good.
Right.
He's pretty good. So I think we need Oregon to lose. And I think we need Washington to lose a game. Right. If Oregon loses a game, they're done. So you get them out of the way, right? If Washington loses, let's just say Washington loses a game in those last 3 weeks, and they lose the conference title, Washington's out too.
Right.
So I don't see that happening. I actually think Washington's pretty good. But they get Oregon State next week, and then in the season in the Apple Bowl. So we'll see for the Apple Cup. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I think Texas is the best one-loss team in the country. They still, in my opinion, have the best win in the country. And all these SEC homers that were like, Alabama's going to lose 4 games this year. Not a single one has gone to Alabama and gotten close to doing what Texas did. So they can miss me with that crap. But yeah, I think Texas is the best one-loss team in the country.
I think Texas is the best defensive line that Alabama has played all year,
and it's obvious.
Right.
They weren't able to run the ball against Texas.
Right.
Nobody's been able to run the ball against Texas.
Right.
So yeah. Well, listen. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters, Texas needs to just keep winning. These last 3 games, just win, baby.
Just win them.
Everything else will take care of itself.
Get in and get out, baby. Get it. It's a business trip.
Yeah.
Don't make it more than what it is.
Yep.
Get in, stomp on them early, stay on top of them. That means that, but that's not only the team though. That's also the coaches, right?
Yep.
You still need to be aggressive, right? Because we're not looking at numbers when it comes to a poll. We're looking at a bunch of athletic directors that claim that they watch all these football games when they really don't.
They really don't.
They do not watch all of these football games. They may watch the top 10, but they're not watching all of these games, because if they were watching all of these games, they would be like, okay, if Oklahoma State is playing the way that they're playing, okay,
they'd be higher than 50.
They would be way higher than what they are.
I would say, Oklahoma State is probably better than Oregon State. Probably Tennessee's the other team that's a fraud to me. Who has Tennessee played all year? The only 2 good teams they played Alabama and got torched.
Right.
And then they lost to Florida, who sucks. Florida's won like 2 games this year.
Right. Florida's not been good.
They barely beat A&M, and A&M sucks.
Right.
Listen, I can't wait to go dominate A&M every year. I'm chalking that up as an easy victory every year, especially if Jimbo Fisher stays. So when we go to College Station,
before we get to TCU, does Jimbo Fisher have a job next year?
Yes. Listen, if they finish 7-5, they're going to chalk it up as, oh, well, yeah, this backup quarterback, because they really like that starter guy. And so what's going to happen next year is the defensive line is going to go into College Station next year for the first time and probably sack him like 18 times, and then Jimbo Fisher will get fired. We're gonna beat A&M by like 30 next year in Kyle Field, and then Jimbo gets fired as soon as the game's over.
Dude, if Jimbo gets embarrassed against Texas,
he's done.
Ooh,
he's done.
Because this was the whole thing, man. This is the whole thing. We get away from Texas.
Yeah,
we can do our own thing. We can be our own thing. We don't need Texas to be great. Yep. And they did have a couple of great years, 2 great years out of 13 years.
They had one really good year, which is the COVID year.
No, I'm talking about Johnny Manziel in the COVID year. That's all.
Oh yeah, Johnny Manziel. I guess that was yeah. Sure.
Other than that, that's it.
Yeah. I think Jimbo Fisher stays next year just so that Texas can beat him, and it'll be a great time. And Oklahoma will probably beat him too.
Yeah, if Texas embarrasses Texas A&M, it's not going to be good. If Texas and Oklahoma beats them, done.
Oh, well, then they might as well just fire him this year because that's going to happen. All right, let's talk about TCU, and then we'll get out of here. So Texas goes to Fort Worth, one of 3 primetime games on the road. This is not a very good TCU team.
No.
Texas should dominate this game.
Right.
But it's a night game in Fort Worth.
It is a night game in Fort Worth. Again, to go in, and I want to know what I want you to give me a score prediction so before we get out of here. But to quickly kind of go over a few things that I was talking about earlier. Again, make this a business trip. The Texas should have won against TCU last year. When they played against TCU at home or in Austin. That game, it was a bunch of nasty games. Texas scored like 4 touchdowns. 3 of them got called back.
Such a weird game.
Such a weird game. Max Duggan doesn't have a great game at all. He gets 1 pass off. He gets 1 touchdown. Game's over. I think it was like
13-7.
Something crazy. Nothing great. TCU over the past 7 years has given Texas a very, very very hard time, whether it's at Texas or whether it's at TCU. So again, it's kind of a situation where like, hey, we want to get in there, we want to take care of business, and we want to get out.
Yeah.
Again, you have to be aggressive. You on offense and defense. Basically, give them an opportunity. Don't even give them an opportunity to have any hope. Again, we talked about this on ad nauseum for the last couple of weeks. If you give an opportunity for a team to stick around, you give them any type of hope, you run into a situation like you did last week versus Kansas State. You run into a situation like a Rutgers versus Ohio State. Yeah. You run into situations like that, and you don't want that because at any point in time, once that momentum swings, it's very, very hard to get it back. But I will say Texas has shown a lot of resilience. That game last year, had it been in the previous years, probably would have lost that game, right? Yeah. We always had that one game where we should have lost. And honestly, that was a game that I called that we were going to lose. You called TCU to be the game that we lose. But it's not favorable for these guys. TCU has not been great, especially through the air. Again, I look for Texas to take care of the intermediate routes in the short routes. Again, when in doubt, we have 2 stud running backs in the backfield, 3, 4, really. Give them the ball. Give them an opportunity to make a play. If it has to be an ugly game, let it be ugly. Get it over with and be done with it.
I think Texas is going to have to rely on the running game this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing is TCU will not be able to run the ball. So
no, not at all.
I see this quarterback probably throwing 2 or 3 picks. And I think what Texas needs to do with those is run this to the house. They need to house these picks, right?
Right.
Or get it in the red zone,
Right.
to where the offense can easily score.
Mm-hmm.
But I this is not a very good TCU team. I've seen them play a couple times. They were horrible against Colorado, which is not also, as we turned out. Yeah, this is a comparison that maybe Anwar Richardson put out yesterday. Mm-hmm. Remember that year that Texas beat Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm.
And both teams ended up being really bad.
Right.
That's basically TCU and Colorado this year.
Basically.
Colorado beats TCU, and then we find out that they both suck.
Yeah.
So
they were not good teams at all.
Yeah.
Before we go, can you give me what you think what the score of the game is going to be?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you the same thing. So I think it's going to be like 49-3, Texas.
Okay.
We have yet to see Texas put together a game like this.
Right.
Where they win really comfortably. I think this game gets so bad. I think Arch gets in the game this week.
Okay. I think for me, I'm going to say 35-17. The reason why I chose 35-17, I was thinking about that prior to that. Again, I really think that it will get to a point to where Texas will be able to get out to a good lead. Maybe within the first half, maybe putting up 20, and then really just kind of maybe even resting a lot of your guys, getting some other guys, some opportunities, a Blue, getting, some Jonte Cook out there, getting backup tight ends in there, getting them some opportunities to play defensively. Again, we want to be healthy for next week against Iowa State. They're one of the better defenses in the Big 12. So I can see a lot of those guys, a lot of the younger guys getting opportunities to play, which in the game leads to possible points getting put on the board. So, I could see TCU putting up maybe 7 in the first half and then maybe strapping on 10, in that second half, maybe getting a field goal before the half or right before or coming out of the third quarter and maybe a late touchdown. But again, I think this is going to be more heavily run influenced. If there's an opportunity to pass the ball, I think they will allow Quinn to pass it. I just don't see them letting him just really push it down the field like he wants to, because they have about 8 to 10 attempts where they put the ball in the air, 30 or plus more yards. So unless there's an opportunity for Texas to really they got somebody just open 40 yards down the field, I don't see them putting it in the air that far.
Yeah, I think there's opportunities to attack this defense a lot of different ways. Their secondary is not very good. You can probably run the ball pretty easily on them.
Right.
I think the gap comes into where their offensive line is horrible.
Right.
They're not going to be able to run the ball, right? And they're going to try to force feed and try to run the ball. And their quarterback's not very good.
Right.
Listen, he's stats wise, he's okay, right?
Right.
But
he hasn't had it, like I said, he hadn't had a bad year. He has been sacked quite a bit, over 10 times. He does have 7 interceptions on the year. But he's thrown for over 1,500 yards.
Yeah.
He's got basically 1,000-yard running back. He'll hit 1,000 yards before the season ends. I have faith that he'll hit that.
Yeah, I do too.
So yeah, I definitely think that they have the weapons. I think this is more of a talent situation. And again, like I said, they won a game that they shouldn't have won last year, only to get embarrassed in the college football playoff. I think Texas goes in, hey, we need to right this wrong, get this win, and get on out of here.
Yeah, they got to end this series the right way, because TCU has dominated Texas. Let's just call it spade a spade, right? TCU has dominated Texas since they've been here. I think they're 9-3.
It's
Texas.
Texas is 2-5 against TCU since they've been.
Okay, 2-5. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little bit worse than that, so I'll take 2-5. But yeah, Texas should get this done. We've got to get out of here. Tim, what was your prediction again?
35-17.
Okay, cool. I have 49-3. I think this is going to be I think they finally put it all together. And
I'm really hoping that's the case. Again, like you said, this needs to be a game where they run the ball. Jonathan Brooks is averaging 6.4 yards a carry. Give him the ball. Let him run.
Let him run. Let him run all the way to another Doak Walker. So
awesome. Yeah.
All right, Tim. Where can the folks find you?
Y'all can find me at Tim Wayne, on all platforms. Twitter or X is my preferred platform. So again, if you want to talk Texas football, you want to talk Big 12, SEC, Heisman, whatever, let me know. Hit me up. Let's talk.
Awesome. You can find me on the socials at the Uncle Gandhi, also on Longhorn Fan Battle Network, the Twitter page there. And you can find me Tuesday nights on the Horseshoe Mob podcast with my fellow Colts fans, and some Monday nights on the AC South Fan Battle podcast. Well, that's it for us this week. Texas plays TCU on Saturday night.
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, between time, my name is Harish. This is your boy Tim. See you later.
Go Gamble.
Go home. Touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my